And now, from the Marquee Media Studio inside Mark Tank, it's the Mark Haney Show.
Yes, this is the Mark Haney Show, and we are on a mission to ignite the entrepreneurial revolution right here in the hometown we love. And today's show is going to be great. It's great because my guest is great. His name is Derek Chase. He is building a really cool company. He amazed me. He's one of the first guests ever to come on our show to build out a solar company. And he ended up having a really nice exit, and now he started a new company. So he's going to share the story of this new company. But it's interesting because he's parlaying that success as something that I believe in. You take whatever strengths and weaknesses and all that stuff that you have and parlay it. And he surrounded himself with a great team like he did in his first company. So stick around. And at the end of the show, during the show, Derek's going to talk about, what he did with his great idea. The first thing he did with his great idea was come over and talk to me, which I thought was interesting. So at the end of the show, I'm going to share a little story about what you do with a great idea. So stick around. Oh, today is going to be fun, my friends. We have Derek Chase. He is back in the frying pan as the founder and CEO of Onsight Technologies. I know Derek from a previous life in solar. He built this tremendous solar company, had a great exit, and we were just talking about that. He still has some involvement in that, but now he's got a startup. So I want you to meet Derek, but I also think you're going to find him interesting because why does a guy jump out of something where he had all the success and then he decides to go back in the frying pan again and get after it again? What, you just can't turn it off, Derek?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 37. I think last time I was here was like 10 years ago or something.
Oh my gosh.
Just like, getting old. You still look the same. I don't know how you're doing that. But
yeah, you were one of the first guests on our show when we first started the show. And because you were like one of the fastest growing companies in the area, and we identified that, and they come on the show. And obviously things continue to work out well for you. Yeah,
it was a crazy ride. But I think you do kind of the same thing for so long. You build some skill sets, and what are you going to do? Just sit at home and do nothing? So you developed all this experience. And so really it was just like a burning idea for me that wanted to kind of give something a shot that was really hard, maybe a little bit more technical and out of the realm from what I previously did, but I could still leverage that experience to challenge myself and keep me excited about getting up every day and building teams and companies. So yeah.
Well, I get this question a lot. In fact, I do a thing called Hanging with Haney where I meet with entrepreneurs and they've got ideas. So what do you do with a good idea is one of the questions we get asked occasionally. So you got this great idea. What did you do with it? What was like the first thing you began to do with this idea?
Yeah, they started about 2 years ago. We were at a garage sale, actually. My son Jack and my daughter Krista were at this garage sale, and there was this little ground robot. Like DJI makes the aerial drones, but they also make this little drone that drives around. It's like a toy, but it's got a camera on it. And I was like, man, that'd be cool if you could just have like a really big one of those, and you could like cruise around these solar sites and do these inspections. So that's kind of where the idea came from. And then I think with any idea, you just kind of start chipping away, like one step at a time. So next thing you know, you're on Google and you're like, well, what kind of robots are out there? And like, who makes them? And at the time, the technology wasn't there. So you may have an idea, but like the rest of the world's not ready for it, or the technology's not there. So I just kind of kept moving forward with it, revisited it like every month. And then eventually when, like just recently, 8 months ago, when I started looking around again, like the technology was actually there. There was robots of that size that had the capabilities that I was looking for. I had the time and money to take like all of these things kind of converged. So I just think, if you have the idea, it may not happen right then.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you've got your other business going. The idea surfaces, and hey, do kind of almost like a little side investigation on the side while you still got your other business. And then when you exited, you found yourself with more time and more money, and that led to things. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, well, so I was encouraged to do it, but I met with you.
Yeah.
And I think when you're sitting there by yourself, it's tough to get something moving on your own. Like you're looking for some momentum and some other people to go, hey, that's not bad. So yeah, you were starting the the Growth Factory, the accelerator program. I came and I met with you, and I was like, you know, this is what I want to do. You thought the idea was interesting. You allowed me to join the program, which was huge. And that really got the momentum started.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's gratifying to hear. One of the things that okay, so you and I have some similar stories. You know, I had some high school buddies, and we built a company, and we ended up doing pretty well, and we ended up selling it, and then I left the company, and then I didn't leave with the people that I had built the company with, and my people were still, selling security stuff. Your people are still in the solar business and stuff. And so, yeah, you're alone at some level after an event like that. And so building the team, though, for me has been quite the challenge, right? So I've started a podcast. I've invested into a lot of companies, and I've had my, I guess, sort of ups and downs in doing it. Now that you've started and you've got involved with the Growth Factory, you were alone at the time. Of course, you have the Growth Factory behind you, but you began to bring people together.
Yeah, this business in particular, so basically it's a robot that the holy grail of what we're trying to accomplish is an autonomous Roomba-like robot that can roam around utility solar sites. These are sites that are thousands of acres with millions of solar panels on them. It can take pictures and gather analysis and data, and then use machine learning to analyze that data to make conclusions to help people better operate these plants. So a lot of that stuff's way over my head. It's just I got the idea. So definitely needed a really high level team right off the bat. So this is different from before a service company. You get all these short little wins. So you could, you're training service techs or security, it's a little bit different. You could start and give some people some opportunities and allow them to learn. This is, you had to start really at the top. And so I didn't necessarily have those folks in my network. And through the accelerator program, there was some networking event that you held here, and I met some folks that had some relationships with some people through the UC Davis kind of network over there. Went and met with them, sold them on the idea to come join. This is John Shepard and Graham Ryland, who have experience. Dr. John Shepard, so he's a PhD in robotics and engineering, really smart guys. And it was funny, I took the idea to them, and they're like, that's not what this is what this is. And I was like, oh, I like that idea a lot better, let's do that. So it's really been, when you're with a new technology, well first you gotta get the right team together, and then listen to them. I mean, these people are smarter than me. They're kind of telling me what the most valuable part about this business is, and where to get the patents, and how to increase the value of it. So that learning experience of autonomous driving, machine learning, it's so exciting to me. It's on the cutting edge, and definitely had to get the right team together to do that.
So those guys you have all the relationships in the industry. You've got these industry relationships which are invaluable. But these two, Graham and the doctor, they're building the product out. Is that kind of how you guys are breaking up the roles?
Yeah, John's the CTO, so he does kind of all the smart stuff. How does it drive? How does it take pictures? Set up the machine learning program, and what kind of cameras do we need? All the technology, he really heads that up. And then Graham really sets the vision for where's the product going? What does it look like? What are its capabilities? What can we really do? And so I really trust them with that. And then I go gather the market data. What is, we got to build something that everybody actually wants and will buy. At the end of the day, it's a business, so we can sit there and add all the sensors and do all this crazy stuff that we think is cool, but it's really about getting that market data, listening to the customers, and solving the problems they want us to solve. So it's basically bringing that market data back to the smart guys and saying, hey, this is what the market's telling us. And for instance, we were going down this path of analyzing the solar panels with hotspots, and are they underperforming? And it's a really hard problem to solve. And some of the groups were like, hey, can it just like read barcodes and tell us where the solar panels are? We're like, well, that's a lot easier than what we were doing, but I think so. So, okay, that's what the market wants. And that's like a really important thing for folks after they install a solar farm with 1 million modules on it. They want to know where they all are and be able to identify those. So, okay, that moves to the top of the target list, and the team kind of starts working on that. So we readjust our priorities based on the market feedback.
Mm-hmm. So the robot and the software work together, and the machine learning teaches the robot how to do a better job of inspection. Is that how that works?
Yeah, I just recently kind of got down the rabbit hole of it, but it's really the more data you feed the machine and you categorize the data, good, bad, other, it gets a little bit smarter on categorizing that stuff on its own and making its own decisions. So the bigger your database, the more valuable it is, because you have this smarter machine learning program, and you get so far out in front of everybody that they just kind of have to use the data that you have. So we're just gathering. I think we've been on 60 megawatts of sites, and we've gathered, I don't know, 10,000 images of solar panels and been able to categorize those. And now we've added, in terms of building out the team, now we kind of know what we're doing a little bit and where we need to go. So now there's like some more like rigorous activity that we need done. So we've actually partnered with UC Davis on getting some interns that it's like a work program that they've established. And now the goal is to like speed up data aggregation and speed up the ability to like solve these targets. So it's like we have a pretty clear target list. We know what data we need to gather. Now just like do more of those things. And that's kind of where we're at today. How
different are these sites? So I'm imagining, okay, so you got a 1,000-acre site. It might be in a rural area. Another place might be half as big or twice as big, and maybe have different obstacles for the robot to need to navigate. Is the data that you're gathering useful from site to site? Or is it mainly the data for that? Each site sort of is its own set of data and it's more standalone?
Yeah, it's a good question. Little bit of both. Some of it's really sophisticated and some of it's just, I mean, you were in the security business. Mm-hmm. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. So some of it's really simple. Does the grass need to be cut? Okay, it's just a visual picture. How tall is the grass? But if nobody's on these sites, and some of these are $100 million assets, and nobody's even seen them, they don't really know, is the grass being too tall a problem? That brings critters. The critters eat the wires. It can be a fire hazard. There's like a lot going on there for something pretty simple. So even just that quick visual inspection is a big deal. That's obviously relatable from site to site. The majority of the solar panels and the way we evaluate them are kind of the same. It's like heat traces. So a lot of the technology reacts the same, but we're looking forward to getting on more sites and understanding what the differences are and how they apply or they're unique. But right now, everything seems pretty relative to each other from the sites we've been on.
What are people are using now? Just driving out to a site and looking at it every so often because it's out in a remote area. I assume that's the competition is the problem you're solving is really manpower, right? Am I right on that? Or
yeah, you've got a couple. So with just humans walking around the site, there's 1 million solar panels and hundreds of acres, and you're in the middle of nowhere. There's snakes. There's just boredom. It's 110 degrees in the middle of the summer. Like, to assume somebody's going to walk around and look at all of this stuff, let alone just boredom and like insanity will kick in at a certain point. I don't think like you can ever actually rely on that. So what the solution is today is some people are flying like drones with thermal cameras, or they're flying airplanes with like these giant thermal cameras. And right about the time when I was when we went to the garage sale, we were like looking at all these different companies that do this. And the problem that I found was their number one, you still have to send somebody there because you can't operate a drone remotely, like an aerial drone, because it could like fall on somebody. There's a lot of risk going on with that. And I think they're actually even tightening restrictions on that. With a ground robot, today they have like pedestrian rights. You can see in Arizona or different locations like delivering food, and it's a thing. It's like happening everywhere. So let alone cars are driving themselves. And so as long as you're on the ground, there's a lot less restrictions. So we actually operate this from thousands of miles away. We can operate the robot from anywhere in the world.
Okay.
So yeah, it was reducing the labor costs, but also in order to like truly automate the data and the machine learning, you need like really high quality data. And we're taking those pictures from like 2 feet away, not hundreds of feet in the air or thousands of feet in the air. And we're also able to get the backside, like underneath the solar panel, where they're always getting like the overview of just looking down on the glass. And under the panel, there's a lot going on. There's the back sheet that holds the whole panel together. Those have quality issues. There's the connectors that plug into each other. Those heat up and burn out and cause fires and loss of production. So there's a lot of stuff going on under the solar panels that the aerial view doesn't necessarily give you.
Interesting. So you've got the time it takes to go make an inspection. If you're driving out there using a drone, I get that time. What about the reporting? A lot of people, if you go out there and you're an inspector, I assume you've got to log it and report it, and basically have management keep track of of the quality of the asset. Does the robot do all that reporting, or does it feed up to something that basically gives the data to the decision maker at that owns the asset?
Yeah, that's the idea of the software. Basically, let's say it takes a picture of every single solar panel. All that data gets stored, but then the anomalies go into a separate report. And that makes it so somebody doesn't have to review thousands of pictures. They could just review like the top 10 that seem to have issues. They classify those further. That makes the software even smarter. So next time they don't have to classify it. Then for those next 10 pictures, I think, what you're able to do with the robot is, let's say you don't really need to do anything just yet. It's not really cost effective to go like change the panel out or whatever it is, but like it could be an issue. We just like tell the robot to go take a look at it every day, and it doesn't cost anybody any money or time. So you're able to like monitor things going forward, where everything else is just like this big sweeping check with a ton of data you get all at once. This allows the data to trickle in at like the operational flow of the business. And then it allows you to make decisions to where like maybe you want some more data. Maybe you want to look at it every day. Maybe you want to look at it once a week. And you're able to tell the owners in a really transparent, if you're a maintenance company, somebody owns the site, it's Bank of America or Goldman Sachs or whoever, you're able to tell them, hey, there are some issues. But we know what they are, and we like literally look at these every day. And so I think what people don't want is like, hey, here's a ton of issues. What are we going to do about it? I don't really know. I can't send everybody out there to go look at them. The data's not really high quality enough to let me know what to do. But now all these issues are on people's minds. They don't know if they're issues or not issues. This allows you to just like monitor it, keep a transparent communication with your clients. So I think there's a lot of value in it. Is
the customer typically the utility or the big owner of the solar panels, or are there maintenance companies that end up becoming sort of like give an end-to-end solution for this reporting? Who's actually buying the thing?
Yeah, well, I think it'll be both. Some asset owners will go tell the operations and maintenance providers to possibly use a new technology. They can strongly suggest.
Right. So you pull it through the end user or the owner to the service provider.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value in transparency. If I'm an owner of a $100 million asset, I want a lot of transparency. And if I have a question, is the grass too tall? Do the modules need to be washed? How many issues are there? Like, I feel like I should be able to get those answers on something of that value pretty quickly. And then for the O&M providers, hopefully they adopt it sooner without kind of the push from the asset owners. It allows them to expand their labor force. So maybe one technician can operate 3 robots on 3 different sites from their house. Maybe they can get a lot more data before they go to the site, so they know exactly where the issues are and how to fix them and what parts to bring. So it saves them a lot of costs in terms of like multiple truck rolls, or ordering the wrong parts. Like that stuff happens when you're doing thousands of work orders. That's a huge cost. So if you're doing, and then if you're doing even more work orders or multiple trips, then you need more technicians. It's like all new hires and more trucks. It's like a massive expense. So reducing all of that will, what we're looking to do is eat into multiple P&Ls. So we're looking to attack the operational cost of just servicing the site by itself. And if we can adjust what that cost is to the asset to take care of it over a period of time, that improves the value of the asset. So we're trying to do that. We're trying to reduce the P&L line item on operations and maintenance companies, so they save money. So and those are all valued at multiples of EBITDA, both assets. So if we can save value on either of those and they have multiples to their value, that every dollar we save them is worth $10, $20 to them, then that's we think that's pretty valuable.
Okay, so you talked about the most valuable part of your company. You referenced it earlier. I didn't really catch what it is. So you made some discoveries early on as you brought in these teammates. Like, look, the most valuable part might not be the robot. In terms of, you're a startup, I'm an investor, and other startups are out there probably thinking about what's my company worth and how do you value a company. How did you decide, or how have you discovered what the real value is, and where do you really see it being longer term?
Yeah, I always think if you're number one in something, that's pretty good. So we're the number one ground robot inspection company in the world. So keeping that leadership position is like pretty valuable, I think. Like at the end of the day, somebody's going to buy number one or invest in number one. So keeping that lead from a market penetration standpoint is like a big deal to us. Driving robots autonomously or building robots, it's been done, and there's other companies with like a lot more money than we have to go. We'll never compete against them, so we didn't think we were going to be too competitive in like building a better robot or solving the autonomous driving side of things. Like there's sensors out there, and people know how to do that. So we'll implement other technologies. Where we think our value will be is the high quality data that we're gathering. We're going to have like the largest database of images taken from that perspective of like right underneath the modules with the connectors, etc. So we think, okay, so now we've got all of this data. We're the group that has the most data. Okay, what are we going to do with that data? Okay, how do we get a little bit smarter with it? So we think the machine learning program coupled with that data, and then a proprietary method on how to deploy and use the robot specifically for solar sites. So that's kind of what we're focused on. And then fishing around like what can we patent kind of within those 3 segments. And this is like feedback from the people smarter than me that have built a couple robot companies before or AI type businesses. So
as you build out this really great information for people out there listening, for me as well. But as so you're a startup, you've built this, inner circle, this team that's building the product, and you've got the minimum viable product. It's ready to go. Now you need to scale it. So how does this scale? Is it simply within the solar industry, or can it scale beyond that?
Yeah, there's a couple of things there. The challenge is how fast do you go? You could throw a bunch of money in and have 10 different robots doing it, but like there's a lot of, like you don't really know yet. You don't really know what the market's going to ask for, where the value will be, or how soon the customers are going to be ready for it. It's from what I've gathered, it's a pretty decent leap for people to go, wait, hold on. These like robots are going to cruise around and do all of this stuff. They don't totally get it yet. So a lot of it's like educating the market making sure the market's ready for us. So it's like all of these different timing aspects you're looking on how fast do I deploy the cash, or how fast do we hire people to go after certain targets. So you're really trying to like pace yourself and measure the market in terms of like how fast you scale so you don't waste resources early on. And you're trying to like gather a bunch of data points. So right now we're scaling up like our next team. So how do we train these the new engineers that we're bringing on board to speed up the data gathering? How do we continue to increase our touch points with customers to continue to educate them and gather market feedback? And then there's definitely, once we have the ability to take pictures and video and thermal and 4K high def and evaluate those with the machine learning program and drive a robot around autonomously, like we're doing a lot of pretty valuable things there that there's, we're definitely looking at some other industries as well. Very tangentially right now, what we're looking at is substation, automated substation inspections.
Okay, so like electrical grids and things like that. What is that?
Yeah, utility companies have these large, like, where all the wires basically come together to where they're going to distribute all that power to all of the buildings. There's like a lot of connections going on there, and there's a lot of risk. And if any of those goes down, neighborhoods are out of power. That's a very manual inspection today. And then also like, I think like unemployment rate's super low. So there's going to be like massive labor challenges going forward is kind of what we're trying to hit too. And how do people scale their organizations for some of the more mundane tasks so that the people who were doing that can do like more sophisticated stuff and or scale themselves. So one guy can now monitor 3 substations versus just 1. So
capturing that window, you talked about this like almost window where is the market ready? I mean, great question. Some technologies come out there a little early. Have you thought about different things that would tell you if the market was ready? I mean, I know you're out there in the market, but how do you know when it's ready? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I think about it every day. A lot of it's just education. So they're going to be ready the more they know about it, the more comfortable they are. I always think about Google Glass. I was like a big Google Glass fan. I like loved wearing them, but like it never took off and people weren't ready and they got like freaked out by it. So how do we make people like really comfortable with the fact that the robots are going to be out there? Like nobody's going to lose their jobs. You're just not going to be doing the stupid mundane stuff that like you don't want to do anyways. And you're going to do a lot more smarter things. You're going to get way better data. Like it's going to make your job better. So making people understand that. It's still like, it's not a human, but we can, the goal is to like make humans more scalable with it. So how do we get everybody just kind of comfortable with that? We did our first conference a couple of weeks ago where people could like actually see it, and we drove it around, and that was great to get like feedback because it doesn't really come through in video or if you show the screen. So I think a lot of it's going to be like personal demos, like getting people like familiar with it, touching it. They're like concerned, can it drive over certain obstacles, or what if somebody gets in the way of it? So, you know, gathering all those questions and then answering those questions over time. And then just like maybe the idea, you know, the technology wasn't there 2 years ago for the robot. By the time, I'm hoping to pace ourselves right at the time where everybody's comfortable and like all of our bugs are worked out, all of the technology's there, and we're very capable of doing things. So there's a small group of folks around the world that like it's pretty cool to connect with all these other people doing robots and robot inspections, and there's a couple groups in Europe that are doing utility robotic inspections, so connecting with them and how did they win over some folks, and there's a little community of us now that are trying to make this thing a reality. So leveraging some of their experience as well. And I think like just developing a network is also super valuable. So you can learn from other people's mistakes and gather other data points.
In terms of like, you're going to ultimately end up raising money. The Growth Factory put in a very small amount of money. Hopefully our connections, looks like some of our connections have been helpful. But you know, you're going to be going on this, I guess once you're ready to scale, once you probably need some more money to help build this thing out. How do you determine when to, I guess, go out and raise money, raise a little bit more money? You have a plan for that?
Yeah, it's definitely different than our last company was like pretty straightforward. When you're a service company, you're making money. Then it's just like, well, how much money do you make? And is it profitable? And like, they're different questions. And now you're coming to people with a lot of hypotheticals. Yeah, I was actually like searching for, when do I do that and how much time do I spend on that versus just making it a better product or like getting more wins. So that's an easier process. And I read a book called Backable by Sanjay Gupta's brother. I don't know, just like
Backable. Okay, I have to look that one up.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was just you can spend a month going out, and his thing was just like you could spend all this time going out and trying to convince people of something, or you could just like spend all that time doing it and then come bring the finished product to them, and it's going to be a way easier sell. So that kind of had an impact on me of like, let's like really go nail some things down. It's good to go get feedback. I think we've definitely done that. We've talked to some folks and like, all right, well, how much money does it really save a utility plant owner? There's like all the financial questions. The good thing is nobody's been like, hey, this is totally crazy. So that was good. They're like, yeah, okay, I see it. Now show me financially, how does this work? Show me some market traction in some of these things. So how do we pace out the cash that we have access to now, our current burn rate, versus when we need to raise capital next and what milestones we can accomplish before that. And if you hold out a little bit longer, maybe you're at a $3 million valuation today, we do something pretty incredible. When you have really smart people, they can make some pretty big leaps. So that's also something that's new to me, of just letting smart people do smart things and come up with some cool stuff. So having some patience, and just letting it play out a little bit and giving your team time and space to do this stuff while still staying pretty aggressive. It's like all these factors at once. It's like your burn rate, your evolution, your access to capital. How quickly would you need to raise if you got into a jam? And then also making sure you're staying in touch with this network. So when it is time to raise capital, it's not a total surprise to them. So one thing we learned through the growth factor is like these monthly newsletters and keeping communications and like kind of building up a group to bring them along for the ride. So trying to kind of do all of that. Yeah.
That's good stuff. Well, one of the, so I wonder a little bit too, so I'm kind of referencing back to my journey a little bit, right? Sell my companies, leave, what am I going to do? Feel like I have more time and money, so I start investing, and then ended up starting this podcast, and it wasn't a moneymaker. I'm like, I'll figure out how to make it a moneymaker. Well, I still haven't figured that out yet. So it's been more of a labor of love with a serious burn rate, right? So I've just sort of been burning money. I've never even talked about this on the show before. It's like, I just basically hired a bunch of people and said, I don't want to be alone. And, but, after a while, you get kind of tired of throwing in your own money, right? So that does... you do get tired of that. So you need to find some of those wins. And so I'm kind of thinking about you and your business, right? So you've had to bring on these new teammates. You've done it with your own resources, and there is a burn rate. And so, but at least you have a product that, this is a venture-backable product, or the Growth Factory wouldn't have gone in on it. We believe in you specifically, but we believe in what this can become as well. That was my mistake. It's like I'm not going to go get venture capital to back a radio show. Now that we have the Growth Factory, for the first time in my life, I've raised some money too, and that's been a fun challenge. So we now have, I think we're almost at 99 investors now. That's the cap we can have by SEC guidelines. So we'll be done with Fund 1 probably by the time this thing airs. But so now I'm kind of almost in your shoes as to I wish I would have had this. I wish I would have had your idea earlier, right? It's taken me a lot of years to decide, I'm going to build something where I can raise money against it. But you haven't really gone out and done that yet. You're doing it with your own resources. How do you get, you can't pay people a ton of money as a startup. How do you get them to believe in you and come on board? Obviously, they kind of believe in the vision, but to believe in you as well as the CEO is a big piece.
Yeah, I think, again, that's kind of like that.
Assuming you didn't write gigantic checks, signing bonuses. I don't know. Maybe? You got to give out some equity. Okay.
You got to get out some incentives to to people. So everybody's in for the upside, right? And then you've got to talk to people personally and just like, hey, what can you tolerate? How much cash do you need? You got to just kind of like figure all that out. And who do you need on the team? What programs are out there? UC Davis is going to help out, like pay for some of the wages for the students. They get work experience. The school gets the smarter student. There's like a lot of good things going on there. So yeah, it's definitely like setting up those employee packages and having some conversations, but I mean, it's just like raising capital. Like they're making an investment of their time. They could do other things. They're extremely smart people. There's like so many projects that get thrown at them all the time. So I think it was also really encouraging just to have folks with that skill set be able to jump on board and spend some time on it. We don't, like early on, we started pretty high level. So these are guys, they've got like kind of other gigs. They're fairly well established. They can take a little bit of risk, where I think before, if you like tell somebody to like leave their job, like you better be prepared. Like they can't take that risk.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've kind of got this like shadow team we put together, and every step you take, everybody gets a little bit more committed. And then if it was more of a part-time thing, you've got to kind of start building up a layer underneath you to where people can start focusing like full-time on something and really making the headway that you need. So it's just one-on-one conversations with everybody, being really honest early on, and try to keep the team together as long as you can. I don't know, you know, some people may get interested in other things, but that was like one of my mentors is Dusty Baker. And his advice to me was always just like, stay together. So try to keep your team together as long as possible and be really patient with it. And then like, if you're having some fun, we try to like make sure we're having fun and do interesting stuff along the way. And that keeps people interested and excited. So yeah, it is tough though, because you can't necessarily like crack the whip super hard when everybody's like, like volunteering some of their time or taking some concessions along the way. So you've got to like be really patient and ask politely along the way.
Yeah, you recruit your high school buddies and they got a good job. You know, that's a whole different world than these doctors and scientists. Okay, so what question did I not ask you that you wanted to make sure we convey or we capture?
Yeah, I think, man, the hardest part about something just high tech early on is I think it's gonna the first thing when I came and talked to you, like, all right, well, hey, what's the risk here? What do you say is like the biggest risk? And I'm like, it might take a long time. So you know, I think Tesla, before they sold their first car, they're like in R&D for like 3 or 4 years or something. Nobody really, that's a long time. So we got to get to revenue quickly and make some money, but like being paid, like it's a weird mixture of patience, which I'm a little bit older now. I think when I was younger, like service companies are good for that because you're just like, go, go, go. And it's like a lot of but this is a lot of like, let's not take a lot of wrong turns. Let's be very deliberate with all of our time. We have like kids now. You don't have as much time as you used to. So you can't make as many mistakes. So it's like go slow and make all the right turns is kind of more important than you like go really fast and break things, I think, in this particular business. So it's just like those are the differences between the two from my perspective so far.
All right. Well, I just want to give you a chance to have any closing thoughts that you want to share. Have we covered it all? Is there anything else?
No, man, that was just the growth factory's been awesome for us in terms of the impact, the relationships, the feedback, showing up with a bunch of other entrepreneurs every day. I didn't have that when I first started. It was just like, you know, like jumping in the deep end and learning how to swim. But I strongly suggest for everybody now who's starting their business, if it is like venture backable or whatever, like you've got to start with an accelerator program. And I thought yours was like world class. I mean, I was just on the board of a company doing hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue, and you brought in people, billion-dollar companies to come speak with us, and I've learned so much here over the past 6 months. So anyways, thank you for that. That was huge for me.
Well, thank you for being a part of it. You've added a lot of value to our lives as well. So anyway, thanks for coming on the show too and sharing this like very human story with our audience. I really appreciate it, Derek.
Awesome. Thank you.
You bet. Welcome back to the Mark Haney Show. great story of success and ambition and never giving up and, persevering through and continuing success. Derek Chase, really great story. We talked on the show about, what do you do when you've got a good idea or a great idea? And it reminded me of a book that my wife gave to me. She said, she wrote on the inside of the book, she said, "Mark, I saw this book and immediately thought of you. You have an amazing ability to take a very raw idea and develop it into something fantastic. I really respect your ability to do that. Love, Stacy." And that was on 12/20. It was Christmas, 12/25/15. That was a long time ago. I remember this book because it stood out to me. It's a children's book, and I'm going to read it to you. What do you do with an idea? It's by May Beeson. One day, I had an idea. Where did it come from? Why is it here? I wondered. What do you do with an idea? At first, I didn't think much of it. It seemed kind of strange and fragile. I didn't know what to do with it, so I just walked away from it. I acted like it didn't belong to me. And then in the book, there's a picture of this little doll, this little stuffed animal, like a little hen, a stuffed animal, which came with the book, by the way. There's this little toy that comes with the book, and it's supposed to represent the idea. So the little boy walking away from the idea. But it followed me. The idea followed him. I worried what others would think. What would people say about my idea? I kept it to myself. I hid it away and didn't talk about it. I tried to act like everything was the same as it was before my idea even showed up. But there was something magical about my idea. I had to admit, I felt better and happier when it was around. It wanted food. It wanted to play. Actually, it wanted a lot of attention. It grew bigger, and we became friends. I showed it to other people, even though I was afraid what they would say. I was afraid that if people saw it, they would laugh at it. I was afraid that they might think it was silly. And many of them did. They said it was no good. They said it was too weird. They said it was a waste of time and that it would never become anything. And at first I believed them. I actually thought about giving up on my idea. I almost listened to them. But then I realized, what do they really know? This is my idea, I thought. No one knows it like I do, and it's okay that it's different and weird and maybe a little crazy. I decided to protect it, to care for it. I fed it good food. I worked with it. I played with it. But most of all, I gave it my attention. My idea grew and grew, and so did my love for it. I built it a new house, one with an open roof where it could look up at the stars, a place where it could be safe to dream. I like being with my idea. It made me feel more alive, like I could do anything. It encouraged me to think big and then to think bigger. It shared its secrets with me. It showed me how to walk on my hands because it said, it's good to have the ability to see things differently. I couldn't imagine my life without it. Then one day, something amazing happened. My idea changed right before my very eyes. It spread its wings, took flight, and burst into the sky. I don't know how to describe it, but it went from being here to being everywhere. It wasn't just a part of me anymore. It was now a part of everything. And then I realized what you do with a good idea. You change the world. My wife went on to write some other notes to me. But I've been talking about this entrepreneurial revolution for a long time. And I got to tell you, it does sound kind of silly. But, my friends, it's starting to happen here in Sacramento. We're seeing it at the Growth Factory. We partnered with hundreds of investors and mentors and corporate partners and civic partners like the Carlson Center and SMUD and just the people at Sacramento who get it, right? There's a group of people who get it. I get it, that entrepreneurship is good. I feel lucky to be one of those people that get it. And now I get to hang around with other people who get it. So what do you do with a good idea? What do you do with an idea, whether it's good or not? I think you have to give it your attention and see it grow. So to all you out there with an idea, with a big dream that some people might say is a little weird, welcome to the club. And to all you out there fighting the good fight for entrepreneurship, for our freedom, for our security, and our way of life, here at Haney Biz on the Mark Haney Show and at the Growth Factory, we're never above you. We're never below you. We're always by your side. Thanks for watching today's show. My goal for every episode is that you find a takeaway, something tangible you can use in your business today. And if you have a comment about a favorite takeaway, feel free to put it in the box below. And if you have a topic that you'd like me to bring up on the show, don't forget to let me know. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to learn more about entrepreneurship. Because at Haney Biz, we are always by your side.